Alrighty. Now we're going to talk a little bit about arthritis today. Here's the question. Will every single person, if they live long enough, get some form of arthritis?
Probably, because we're in a fallen, sinful world. Probably.
Now, what are the first signs? If someone says when they wake up, their fingers are stiff, and so they have to do that to get rid of that stiffness, is that the first sign of?
That is one form of it. Oftentimes we worry about hand stiffness and swelling being rheumatoid arthritis, but the first thing I can think of when you tell me the hands are stiff is they have a food allergy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so what could be some of the food allergies? Well, it could be gluten, and that would include barley, rye, oats, wheat products. It could certainly be the glycosates that are the Roundup that are on the wheat that you eat. It could be nightshades. I would certainly try avoiding nightshades. So that's your tomatoes, tomatillos, eggplant, potatoes, but not sweet potatoes. Peppers, hot and sweet, and paprika, chili pepper, cayenne, Tabasco, pimentos, goji berries actually also are alkaloid inflammatory foods. So that's what I would think of first.
So if a person wakes up on certain days and their fingers feel stiff, they're to think, what did I eat yesterday?
And it would be great to do a food diary and see, oh, I had, that must be it. And I'd give it a try. I'd do it a month, avoidance, and see. That goes for any food allergies. Try to figure out what it might be. It may be a GI upset. It may be the runs. It may be constipation worse. Make sure you get plenty of water. Your hands can be stiff if you're dehydrated. So that's a big one. And that's one of the biggest things we talk about for preventing arthritis, because the joints get dry. And if we don't drink any water, and I have patients that say, I don't drink water. I never have drunk water. And they're, you can't move. Yeah. So I'm going, yeah, So not juice, not coffee, not soda, not tea, but water. And you need half your weight in ounces a day. That's a lot of water. You got to know where every bathroom is, but you need to do that. If you can't remember how much water you've drunk, my mother-in-law, she does a Cur jar, and she makes sure she gets 2 of those down a day. And if we try to give her a glass of water or something outside of that, no, I can't measure it. I want to make sure I measure it correctly. So she knows she gets enough water.
So what are the first signs that you may have arthritis?
Well, usually my patients see it in their back, their hips, their knees, hard to get out of a chair, creaky joints, painful joints, and it goes downhill from there.
And there's nothing you can do?
Yeah, sure. There's all kinds of things you can do. So most of it is diet. So one of the big things I've seen in my patients is you got to avoid sweets. They're not going to do it. I have a patient that loves cookies, and she says, my arthritis acts up every time I get back into cookies, and I'm good for a couple weeks, and then I eat cookies. And then I'm so crippled I can't even open a jar. Okay? Sugar. Another thing is avoid fried foods. And we love fried foods, you know. Lose weight. For every pound that you lose, that's 4 pounds less on your joints that you have to put pressure on.
Just to run back on the bit about avoiding sugar, is that any sugar? Suppose the person says, well, can I just use honey and 100% maple? Is it all sugars you have to avoid?
If you want your joints to be better, it's going to be all sugars, including artificial sweeteners, which are very toxic to joints in the body. Because the sugar deposits are laid down in the joints as we eat the sweets. And so instead of having a nice smooth joint that can move, you've got lumpy bumpies in there because you've had deposits.
So is it depositing little crystals?
Little crystals. And with sugar, the body will put it anywhere. It tries to get rid of it out of the bloodstream so that you won't have syrup running through your blood, so that you'll perfuse all your tissues. So it puts it in your eyes, it puts it in your heart, it puts it in your kidneys. And so what are the things we see that go first? You get a heart attack because you've got sugar issues. We see they go blind because of sugar issues. We see men go impotent because of sugar issues. We see kidneys fail because of sugar issues. And even if you're not diabetic, and most Americans are pre-diabetic or insulin resistant, they're insulin resistant, meaning that the insulin isn't doing what it needs to be doing to keep your body healthy. So being on a plant-based diet, whole food diet, lots of water, no processed food, and again, I go back to the average American will eat 1 to 2 fast food meals a day. And that is horrible on their body, and they wonder why at 40 they ache and break and everything feels bad. Well, because of the way they've eaten, and it is taken a toll on them.
So fresh fruits, even something as sweet as a mango, that doesn't cause the crystals?
No, it does not. It does not. And so if you want to do a diet that is the best for anti-inflammatory diet, for joints, you're going to have fruits, especially berries, grapes, cherries, vegetables, especially green leafies, broccoli, peppers, and tomatoes. I can't tell you how many people don't eat greens. They don't eat greens. It's not in their diet. When Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, they were restricted from eating from the tree of life. What did God give in its place? Vegetables. And my brother says, and that's why I don't like vegetables, because they came after sin. Anyway, but he eats them now.
Another quick question, still stuck on sugar. I did get a question this morning about sugar. And for a male, how does sugar affect if a man has a tumor?
It'll feed the tumor, because your immune system will be knocked down by the sugar load. So what we found in the studies is as the glucose elevation, the syrupy blood goes through and is filtered over the next 6 to 8 hours after a Oreo or whatever, cookie, or a candy, or a sweet drink, Starbucks. You're not getting it raw with just plain coffee. You're getting all that sugar in there. That will then affect the attack cells from being able to actually see what we're exposed to every day, which is mutated cancer cells, cells that mutate to cancer. They can't see viruses and bacteria, which we're exposed to every moment of our lives. So that basically blinds the body for about 6 to 8 hours to be able to attack and kill off those invaders. But when we're high on sugar, the body doesn't do that. So we see cancer as a big problem, or tumors as they grow because of the sugar. Does that help?
Wow, yeah, that's very interesting. All right, okay, so we touched all the arthritis. So vitamin and mineral supplements. You know, the vitamin industry is a huge industry, makes multi-billion-dollar industry. Some of the supplements are kosher and work, some of the supplements do not. What would be the signs that a person has a vitamin or mineral deficiency? And if we do eat a good balanced diet with lots of whole plant foods, what is the only supplementation that the average person needs to have?
If you have a whole food diet, you don't need to have any supplements. You don't need to have vitamins. You need vitamin D. That appears to be a deficiency in all of us.
Yeah.
And we don't get enough sunshine because we're going to get skin cancer. So we need more vitamin D. And if you're a person of color, you're not getting any vitamin D, so you definitely need to take extra because it doesn't come through the skin because it's blocked, the vitamin D from the melanin in the skin. So vitamin D, of course, helps your immune system, helps your T cells, helps your attack cells, helps you not to have the flu and the crud like I'm seeing about 10 patients a day with the cough and the sore throat and the runny nose and all of that. And they don't feel good, and the low-grade fever and the colored sputum. And it doesn't matter if they're coronavirus positive or RSV positive or influenza A or B positive or none of the above. They have the exact same symptoms. They treat them exactly the same way, and they all get better. But vitamin D probably would have prevented that or made that much less likely to be as severe.
And what about B12?
B12 is a vegetarian, always gets a bad rap because you can't absorb that. But you know, when you're a vegetarian, you change your bacteria flora. And you have bacteria in the ileum, and you have bacteria in the back of your tongue, which actually can help you absorb B12. You don't need much. So the people that are actually pernicious anemia, low B12, it's a genetic problem. It's not whether you're a vegetarian or not. I see it in meat eaters and I see it in non-meat eaters. It has nothing to do with it. Will B12 help some people so they feel better? Absolutely. And the reason is the electrical system of the body, as the electricity goes through the nerves, it comes up to the end of the nerve cell, and then it has to jump that, the electricity has to jump that gap and then go back into the electrical cell, the nerve cell, and keep running. That gap is accelerated by B12, that jump. So some people feel better with the B12, extra B12 to bathe that over. B vitamins are water soluble, so you cannot be toxic. So your level normally may be about 600. If you have extra B12 or get B12 shots, it may be 20,000. Tomorrow it'll be back to 600.
Now, they still push vitamin E capsules. It's mainly the fish oil, which sometimes is rancid inside that capsule. You probably need to break it open and smell it. Is it still the case that vitamin E is good for the heart, or the research is showing maybe not?
You know, we did the study to see if vitamin E would benefit people after they got stents or angioplasties. It was actually angioplasties. It was long before stents came along. And they found that vitamin E capsule, which is alpha, the alpha form of vitamin E, was useless, didn't help. So I would get your vitamin E from foods. I wouldn't get it in a capsule. And if you do take vitamin E, or your doctor suggests you take vitamin E, I would make sure you have all 8 components of vitamin E in there. Because not just one, not the synthetic alpha vitamin E, it's useless, throw it out.
All right, here's a question from the congregation. Do biotin supplements really help with hair and nails? And is it possible to take too much biotin?
Biotin is a B vitamin, so you can't take too much. And I will tell you, Royce's opinion, after studying all of this, biotin is useless. Okay? So, biotin is vitamin H or vitamin B7, and when people take it because their hair loss or their nails, and it's usually because they've had some stress or some infection or something they're getting over. It could be emotional stress, it could be physical stress, all of that, and their hair starts to fall out. Hair follicles cycle, about 10% cycle all the time, but when you're really, really sick, there can be up to 80% of your hair follicles cycle that they just fall out, and they're going to regrow, most of them. Unless you're a male, that is genetic for male pattern baldness. That's a different thing, but I'm talking mostly about the women who get, my hair's falling down. So I'm going to take some biotin. And you know, after they finish that bottle of biotin, their hair is better. Guess what? It would have been better without the biotin. So I would suggest that that is usually the problem. In the United States, to see a biotin deficiency is very rare. So where are you going to get your biotin naturally? You're going to get it from nuts like almonds, peanuts. Peanuts are a legume. Pecans, walnuts, nut butters, soybeans, legumes, whole grains, cereals. Cauliflower has biotin in it. Bananas have biotin in it, and mushrooms have biotin in it. You're going to get enough if you eat those foods. You don't need to go buy a supplement.
All right. Okay, someone went to their doctor and they had an injury, a major injury, and the doctor started backing off, giving them any more pain medication. What is a good natural pain medication you can use when a doctor is saying, I can't prescribe you anymore?
Well, there's a whole bunch of natural ones. And I'm going to go through the list here. And first off, we oftentimes use capsaicin. It comes in a cream and a patch, and you can buy it over the counter. And it works really well on joints that are painful. That's usually where the pain is coming from. And then turmeric. If you can get turmeric with MSM and work your way up to 2,000 milligrams a day, it's a super anti-inflammatory. Will help for arthritis, long-term arthritis too. The problem with turmeric is it's a spice, so you can get upset stomach from that. It's a spice, so you could irritate that. Massage will help loosen muscles if you have pain. That can help. Exercise. If you can exercise in a pool, the Y is a good spot to go and get in a nice warm pool and exercise and get some balance. When you can exercise, that's endorphins, and it will help you with the pain. Aromatherapy. I've got a lot of patients that tell me the aromatherapy helps, and I can tell you what we use oftentimes in aromatherapy for alternate to morphine. You gonna write this down? Okay. This is from Sharon Ferguson, because she is a distributor to an essential oil group. And it's called a morphine bomb. And you can ask Pastor Ferguson, it really works. So 6 drops of frankincense and 6 drops of marjoram, and you put that in a vegan capsule, and you take that as often as you need it for pain. That works really well. So aromatherapy, you can take your pot of water and you boil it. You put your oils in there, essential oils or whatever flavor you want to smell, and it'll improve that room, and you will have an uplift in your well-being because of the smell. Wow. Boswellia or frankincense, an excellent for pain. It's an herbal anti-inflammatory, been used for centuries. And of course, we go back to the anti-inflammatory diet, whole grains, quinoa, brown rice, oats, beans and lentils, nuts, seeds, almonds, walnuts, flaxseed. Hot and cold fomentations actually does work. It increases the blood flow. Mindfulness, when you pray to God, you're not in a neutral position. You are actively working with God, and God is talking to you. That can have a big impact on your perception of pain. Magnesium and zinc, so you're going to get that through seeds and nuts, and you're not going to be deficient if you have enough seeds and nuts. Unless you're intolerant to those and you have a wasting problem with malabsorption, that shouldn't be an issue for the majority of my patients.
Okay, here's another question. Are there some odd symptoms of a dairy allergy? Hold it, what's the question that you might not think? Okay, does dairy allergies have odd symptoms that you would not connect with being allergic to dairy?
Sure, any allergy can. And I remember a patient that we worked on. We got rid of the weed, we got rid of anything allergy, we got rid of dairy, we got rid of everything. Couldn't get what was going on. She found out it was soy. So, for just that. So, lactose intolerance, common, 85% in white folks. Also known as lactose sensitivity. It's where the gut is trying to digest the lactose. It's a sugar naturally found in milk and dairy products. After eating dairy, symptoms of this kick in about 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how much dairy you eat and how sensitive you are. And it varies from brief stomach ache and nausea to full-blown, as I like to say, Hershey squirts. Okay. So if you think you might be allergic, and I have a lot of patients that, I just don't feel good after I have dairy, then don't eat it.
All right, now we have some time this morning for questions from you. Those of you out there in streaming land, I have my phone. If you can type really quickly and send a text with your question, we could probably deal with it now. But anybody here, in your preacher's voice.
We have relatives that have very thin skin, they bleed out a lot. Is there anything you can do to help that?
All right, for people that have easily bruisability, they thin skin, they bleed out a lot, yes. My father was a surgeon, and he oftentimes would recommend Rutin, R-U-T-I-N. It's over the counter. It is the bitter white stuff you peel off of citrus. So you don't eat that part in the grapefruit or on your orange or on your lemon. You take that off, and it comes and it actually strengthens the capillaries so that they're less likely to break when you touch something. So I can even use that with patients that are on blood thinner. It's safe, it will not interact with that, and it doesn't seem to interact with any other meds. So Rutin, R-U-T-I-N.
Okay. Any other questions?
How does saffron help with Parkinson's?
How does saffron help with Parkinson's? Don't know how saffron helps with Parkinson, but I can talk about saffron. If it does, go ahead and keep taking it, if it helps. Saffron's a spice, we were going to get to this last month, as derived from the crocus flower and the saffron crocus, and you may have already seen these bloom around, and you didn't go down and get those threads, did you? Because they're pricey. The vivid crimson stems are called threads and are collected and dried for use mainly in seasoning and coloring. 20,000 threads per pound. That's why it's so expensive. So, I've got patients that take it regularly. They tell me their skin glows, works better than caffeine to keep them going. Hair quality improves, craving for sweets drop. Mood improves after 15 days. If they do this, they take a pinch of the saffron, they put it in a cup of water overnight, soak it, then drink the water in the morning. And they did that after 15 days, had amazing results. And if it helps Parkinsonism, praise the Lord.
Amen. All right, we have time for one more question. Judith?
How about blood thinners and turmeric? No, they work totally differently. Of course, if you get an upset stomach from it, you get raw and then you could bleed from your stomach, and I don't want that. So when you take your turmeric, you're going to need to make sure it's with food. No, they don't tend to interact, and I've not had any problem with turmeric in my patients on blood thinners.
All right, we actually